I exist. I'm here. I'm sorry it was so late, guys. I was watching Endgame with the children, and I lost track of time and it ran over a little bit. So we're here. We're turning the music down a little bit. There we go. Just check all of my chats. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna work on a little bit of code tonight. That's gonna happen. I've got a whole schedule here on my other monitor that we're gonna do. I spent some time actually doing some planning and pretending like I do this professionally. Only pretending. Let's not get carried away. Oh, I do have to fix my go live notification though. Alright, there we go. I'll turn the music down a tad bit more, it's really loud. Well, if you were in Discord, you would know why I didn't stream yesterday. Get in Discord! That reason right there. Because I didn't get any sleep the night before, and I was an unintelligent mess. There was no way I was qualified to speak about anything that required any amount of actual thought. I was just a complete waste of oxygen last night. Listen. The wife is giving me harassment from the peanut gallery. If I wanted you to open your mouth, I'd unzip my fly. I'm waiting for her to throw something at me now, like a cat. All right. We're gonna write some code tonight. But first up, I'm gonna do a little bit of misinformation handling. So it has come to my attention that there is an absolutely stupid amount of content on YouTube that is just plain wrong. And if I can get to there we go, new window. We're gonna go to my YouTube channel. That's not how you spell that. Okay, let's go to my channel. I actually set up a playlist for this, so that I could go through them. Playlists. Here we go. Alright, this fella. Alright, so this UFD tech guy, about half of his videos are absolute garbage, and the other half are kind of right. Okay? And I'm not doing this to talk shit about the guy. I think he needs to do a little more research before he starts running his mouth, unless this is entirely his intention, which is just to sensationalize things. But let's see. Do I have Chrome listed as a sound source? I do, I believe. Yeah, Chrome. All right, so you should be able to hear this. Okay, that's the first video. Okay, let's let's address the first thing. The very first thing he says is that Elon Musk wants people to call his site x.com rather than twitter.com so badly he is willing to let people be scammed. That is not true. Did this attack or this issue actually come up? Yeah. Did it go unnoticed for a long period of time? No, it did not. So let me show you what did happen. We're gonna crank open Notepad++, because this is, I would like to pop this out and not make it, okay, well I guess I can't do that anymore. Must be a plugin issue. Alright, so we're gonna set our language to Perl, because that's my language of choice here. Okay. So we're gonna say your Twitter post comes in an arg array. It looks something like date, you don't put a $sign there, which would include the time. So you have your time stamp, basically. We'll call it that because it's smarter. All right, so you have a date and time as a timestamp. You have an author, which is you as a user, okay? And then you have you're going to have a message body or the actual tweet. So we'll just say tweet. Don't worry about the undef thing. That's just setting default variables for things for when HTTP decides to be a mess. So what happens is you're gonna have a little bit of cleaning up, right? So what happens is if the tweet variable contains twitter.com, it's going to replace that with x.com. So that looks something like this. If tweet hi GH cool, okay, equals matches slash twitter.com, okay, we're gonna replace. So to replace, no, actually we're not going to replace. We're just going to leave it as is. So just if it matches, and we'll say greedy. So if it matches more than one, I guess it doesn't have to match more than once. We're going to tweet equals tweet equals matches m, which is the replace modifier for regular expressions, x.com, and actually this has to be backslash, and this has to be backslash, and this has to be backslash because they're special characters in regex. And now for this, we're going to say IG, which makes it case insensitive and greedy, which means it will match more than once and replace every occurrence of twitter.com within that tweet to x.com. So the problem with this is it's going to catch anything. So if you have, probably can't see that. Oh, one sec. Manims. All right. So if this is most likely the default implementation and what caused the problem to begin with, because this is really, really unsafe to do. And it's unsafe to do because you're only checking for the string literal twitter.com, and you're not checking for its context. Okay, so if I say if the tweet contains well, the argument of the video there used net FLITWITTER.com, okay, it would replace this bit with x.com, and you see it says Netflix, and that's pretty much what was happening. Okay, the correct way to do this is to put a /B right here, remove .com because that's pointless, put a /B here, remove this, and just make it X. Okay, now what this does is /B, and it's a little bit different in different languages, but most languages that support regex or regular expressions support what's called a word boundary. Okay, and a word boundary is a magical place in a string that exists between the space and the actual first character of the word. So it's a little bit high level, but hold on, show you here. So we have a word, okay, then we have a space, and then we have another word. Okay, spaces are represented by \s in regex. Right here is the word boundary. Right here is the word boundary. Right here is the word boundary. Okay? So this is \b. This is \b. Well, I'm not doing well with my paint tonight. It's looking a little rough. Okay, and again, another boundary right here. And this could be the beginning of the line too, right? So this could actually be what's called, in Perl, this isn't denoted by a caret because it's the beginning of the line, but then immediately a word boundary. Okay. Where did I learn all this stuff? Experience. I learned it from needing to know this. This is how I learned. By coming across really complicated problems that did not have elegant solutions, and I had to either invent them or search Stack Overflow until I found someone else who did. All right. So what we do is we're going to change this so that it looks for a word boundary, then Twitter, then another word boundary, and just replace the word Twitter with X. So anytime the word Twitter appears and it's not inside of another word, it will replace it. But if it doesn't find that, if it finds, bullshit like net flit Twitter, there's no word boundary here. Well, there is at the end of the line. Okay, but there isn't right here where it would need it. Oh, I'm sorry, right here, actually. Okay. This is where you need that boundary in order for this substitution to actually take place. And this would get skipped completely. And this is likely the fix that they implemented. But what irritates me is that in this video, that statement is so erroneous and so absolutely disgusting. Okay. Don't get me wrong, Elon Musk is no saint, right? There are reports of him running into the office and say, I want this change implemented, I want it changed now, and engineers have no time to work on it. I don't know if that was the case here. Nobody else knows if that was the case here unless you work for him. Okay? And this guy has absolutely no cause to accuse a person of willing to create vulnerabilities in their site in order to get what he wants. Nobody that runs a major social platform wants their platform to be a jumping off point for an exploit. That's nothing but bad PR. We're gonna make my chat a little bit bigger so I can actually read the insults that are in it. There we go. I assume that's a joke. And if it's not a joke, you're gonna get banned. So you have about 20 seconds to straighten yourself out. Let's move on to the next video, because this is another really important one. That's correct. You don't. When you buy a game, you don't own it. When you buy anything anymore, you don't own it, as far as technology goes. Okay, you buy a copy of Microsoft Word. Yeah, wow, Works hasn't been around a long time. If you buy Adobe Photoshop CS, the new CS or whatever, new video games, whatever, you don't actually buy the game. You buy a license that gives you access to the game, and that license can be cut off at any point, at any time, for any or no reason at all, at the license issuer's requirement. Which is why live service games like Grand Theft Auto 5 are just going to die. When the new Grand Theft Auto comes out, you could bet your ass that Grand Theft Auto 5 is going to just vanish. because it won't be lucrative for them to run the servers anymore. So everybody that owns a copy of Grand Theft Auto 5 isn't going to be able to play it, at least not online. I don't know if it has an offline mode. I've never played Grand Theft Auto 5 because it's not my genre of game. But there are a lot of other live service games that are just like this. So if you play a live service game that is multiplayer only, at some point or another, that game will go away. I actually have a game like that. It's called Worms Armageddon. I played Worms Armageddon for a very long time. It is a great game. It's a lot of fun. Multiplayer is gone. The WormNet servers are gone. Team 17 took them offline ages ago. Let's continue the video. Right, and that's actually a big movement that's happening in the EU right now. Well, not a big movement, but it's gaining traction. Where they don't. Once they pull the plug on the game, they no longer sell the license to it, as they wouldn't be able to. That would be illegal because you can't sell access to a thing that doesn't exist. That's false advertisement at the very least, theft at the worst. But they sell the licenses to access these games while they're still going and while they're still profitable. And then when the user base starts to like thin out and they just aren't making as much money, they pull the plug, and then you're stuck with a game that you can't play. But anyway, there's a group of people in the EU that are putting together a thing, and it's part of the Stop Killing Games website, where they want to pressure governments into forcing manufacturer and developers that if you have a live service game, that's fine, but if you discontinue the service of the game, you should release a standalone server so that users can host their own private servers for them and their friends to play on if you still enjoy playing the game. And I feel like that's a fair compromise. Okay? Once your game has made you all the money it's going to make you and you can't possibly profit from it anymore, I understand that businesses want to no longer run the servers for that game because they're expensive. I've run Minecraft servers, I know what they cost. This shit is not cheap. Okay, but if they release the server software and let users incur that cost, if they want to, they can. And then you can still play the game if you want to. And like I said, I feel like that's a really fair compromise, but developers are going to try to hide behind BS like, oh, well, it contains proprietary artifacts that we're not ready to release yet, and it's going to be a lot of pushback and whatnot. They're going to try to hide, they're going to try to claim trade secrets and whatnot. We'll see where this goes. This is a brand new thing that just started like a couple of weeks ago. So keeping my eye on that. That's pretty important to me. Let's do this video. All right, I hate this guy's voice, so I'm just going to explain it to you. When a printer prints, specifically an inkjet printer, so I keep blinding you guys with this thing, I'm sorry. Okay. We'll give me my square tool. Okay, we'll say this is a piece of A4 paper, standard printer paper. Okay. And here's your standard page margin. Okay. So all your text is going to appear in here. when it runs to the printer. Okay? Right up here in the corner, you're going to have a series of almost completely transparent yellow dots. And they're very, very faint. You will never see them with your naked eye. You need a light to be able to see them. Okay? And what these dots are, they're actually a code that can be read by a machine that tells you exactly what printer, like what serial number, model number, manufacturer, like everything about the printer is in that code. Hey there, Stitch Films. So in the event that and this is important because, and this is why this is a thing. Okay, it came up that like if I handwriting is noticeable, right? Like if I write something by hand and send it to somebody, that person could take that paper, take that letter that I wrote, analyze it, and through some other deductive logic, discover that it was me that wrote it, right? And then we can do handwriting samples in court, and they can see that maybe I said something I wasn't supposed to say, right? Like I threatened to unalive them or something in the letter, which is illegal. You can't do that. Okay, they can use handwriting samples to compare my handwriting to the handwriting on the letter and discover that it was me. So people got clever and they're like, oh, well, I'll just type something up and print it. Well, no, you can't do that anymore either. So you guys might be a little bit too young for this, but a couple of decades ago, we had what we call the anthrax scare, which was a guy that was mailing anthrax, which is an incredibly deadly poison. It was just anthrax in an envelope, okay, with a letter. And when you would open the letter, or you would open the envelope, you'd pull the letter out of the envelope. Remember, this is snail mail. I know some of you have never used that. Work with me here. Okay, you pull the letter out of it, and it would release all the anthrax, and it would go airborne. Death was very quick thereafter. Okay, with this code, you can take the piece of paper that was in the letter, or even the envelope, because you could print envelopes too, even the envelope, scan that code, and know exactly what printer and where it was sold. That narrows down your pool of potential suspects very quickly. It's just yellow ink. It's just yellow ink. It's the standard yellow. Well, it's not actually. No, it is yellow. That's right, because it's CMYK. So it's cyan, magenta, yellow, and then I forget what the K stands for. Is it chroma? I can't remember. But yeah, it's just regular yellow ink. This is why your printer bitches at you that it's out of color ink, even when you're trying to print in black and white, because it cannot make this code, and it is required to be there by law. Now, in this video, this fellow continues on to say things like the government is or your printers are spying on you. The printer is not spying on you. Take your tinfoil hat off. The printer is not spying on you, although it could. And here's the other reason, and the really important reason why electronics are tracked. We have trade agreements with other countries about what electronics can and cannot be sold to them. Printers are absolutely on the ban list for most of those countries, like the Middle East, where they build bombs out of anything they can find. Okay? Because the technology that's in a printer is sufficient enough to build really advanced timers for improvised explosives, for nuclear warheads, for a lot of things. So thus, all electronics that are capable of running a launch code must be tracked. This is not just specific to printers, this is literally everything. Your computer has a hardware ID in it. Everything you do makes that hardware ID very available to the people that want to see it. It's not a matter of spying, it's a matter of tracking. These are different things. Spying is a more active thing. Tracking is passive. Okay, that's that. And then the last thing, I'm not going to actually close this because I get tired of setting it up. We're just going to Control A and move everything off screen. Okay, one more video, and this one's unrelated to technology, but I think it was important. That is correct. Nothing about that video was incorrect. Every statement made there, every bullet point was 100% right. We do not recycle. We don't. Do you put out recycling, once a week with your garbage, or maybe your recycling? If you live in a city, maybe your recycling picks up on a different day, or maybe it only picks up every 2 weeks. It depends on where you're at, right? Recycling is bullshit. It doesn't happen. There are recycling centers where some things are sorted a little bit. They're mostly looking for precious metals. Plastics go to the landfill. All of it goes to the landfill. I don't have a plastic bottle handy. Crap baskets. Okay. Most plastics have the little recycle symbol on it, right? And a number. That's not a recycling symbol. Not at all. Check it. I don't know how to spell this. Close enough. This is the recycling symbol. It is 3 folded arrows. Okay? Even they've got it wrong. They use the folded arrow. This is not the same symbol. It's a little off, but if you look at the bottom of a plastic bottle, this is not the symbol that's on it. It's close to it, though. Okay. The recycling symbol is different than what you see on plastic bottles, and it's because plastic is not recyclable. The number, okay, just tells you the kind of plastic it is. That's it. Now, it can be recycled, right? I'm not saying that this isn't possible. I'm saying it isn't done. And it isn't done because it is a horribly unprofitable business. There is no way to make money recycling things into other products. There are several jumpstart companies out there that are doing it. I've heard of playground equipment being made of ground up tires, which is cool. They're not making any money. All right. It's too costly to do. And any business which is too costly to run will eventually fall in on itself. There was a recycling center about 11 miles from my house. It has been sold 4 times in the last 20 years. Because it does not make money. It can't. It's too costly to go through the process. So, that's all the bullet points I wanted to make. You can do whatever you want with that information. My dog is whining. He wants to go out because he's a pain in my butt. So now I want to go to my playlists, and I actually want to delete this playlist because that was just for today. I actually set that up between yesterday and today because I wanted to do something a little bit more fun and interesting. Let me just switch my camera view back to here so I am a little bit smaller. And I'm going to go walk my dog, and then we're going to write some code. So while I'm walking my dog, I'm going to let Gamemaker start. I got a little bit of a plan for what we're going to do today. We're not going to continue off of the last bit of code I wrote. I'm actually going to start a brand new thing. If I could remember where the hell I put Gamemaker. I hate too much shit. Seriously. Okay. I'll be right back. One second, guys. I'm trying to figure out why my studio's all messed up. Oh, here we go. Yeah, this one's live. There we go. Okay. Why is this not working? Oh, there we go. It is working. Cool. Okay. Let's switch back to my primary. Wow, look at that. I am here. All right. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this thing. I said we're going to write some code. We're going to write some code. We're going to start a new project. Oh no, I have this. We'll just open this bad boy up. And we're actually going to delete this object because we don't need it. Yoink. Rooms, we need the room. Sprite, we don't need that sprite. So like I said, we're not going to be building off of what we did last night. And last night was just standard 8-way movement for a top-down style game, similar to like The Legend of Zelda, the original, or any of the 2D Zelda games actually. What we're going to do tonight is platformer. Easily one of the like oldest kinds of games. Well, I mean, 8-way movement games are pretty old too, because Zelda and Super Mario Brothers came out right around the same time. There we go. So, first thing we need, we're going to click our room. Note here on the left, we have the inspector. Anything you select is going to come up in the inspector, and you can modify pretty much everything about it. Most of the time you can just click objects though and edit them in the workspace here. But you may need, for things like the room itself, obviously that doesn't have you can't edit the room in the workspace. You have to do it with the inspector. So we're going to change the room to the name of it to RM_level 1. All right. Now you can open editor here, and this actually opens up. Well, that's weird. Oh, did it not save? Like, what's happening here? It's supposed to open a code editor like above it here. I wonder why that's not working. Let's do camera stuff first, and I'll figure that out in a minute. Leave clear display buffer checked. There's very little reason why you would ever want to uncheck that. Alright, we're going to enable viewports. Enabling viewports lets you use multiple cameras, which you probably won't need, but you will need one. So you need to have viewports enabled to have even one camera. And if your level scrolls to any extent, you need a camera. Unless you can continue your entire game in this screen, you need a camera. And that's going to be viewport 0. Now, a viewport and a camera are not the same thing, okay? The camera properties show you, we're going to change this to, what is this? I forget what the resolution I use as display settings. 1920 by 1080, but I actually want it smaller than that. We're going to set it to that for now. We're going to say 1920 by 1080, and we're going to do the same thing here, 1920 by 1080. Now I'm about to change these. We just want to make this visible. You see we get a square. Okay, this is what is inside of the viewport. And the camera, actually. Okay, so the camera sees the world. The viewport is how big the containing window is. So for the very first room that loads in GameMaker, the viewport definition there is super important because that is the size of the game window when it launches in Windows or wherever it launches. So when this starts in Windows, because it's 1920 by 1080, which is the full size of my desktop resolution, this will actually be the full size of my monitor. So we're going to dial that down because that's too big. There's no reason to make your game window that large. There just isn't. That's what maximizing is for. So we're going to do a little calculation. Okay. We're going to take 1080 and divide it by 2. I know what the numbers are. I'm doing this for your benefit. So we're going to set the viewport property to 540. And we're going to divide 1920 also in half. And that's 960. And notice that the white did not change at all, even though the viewport did. Because again, I'm changing the size of the game window when it launches in Windows, not the size of the actual world that is visible through that window. I'm actually going to change it again though, because I don't like this. What we're going to do, close this and close this. We're going to open Chrome, and we're going to look up aspect ratio 16 by 9. That's AI that's doing that. This is new. Oh, okay. Wow. Calculator. Okay, because what we actually want is a desired width of 720. That doesn't seem right. Why is it being absolutely stupid? Am I... That's confusing. This is wrong, and I don't know why it's wrong. Like, I don't know why this is happening. Like, I had all these numbers before. Alright, let's, it's 1280 by 720. That's why I'm confused. Okay. So we're going to change the camera property, or this. 1280 by 720. And we're going to do the same thing here. 1280 by 720. That looks a little bit more normal. Okay. Because I was trying to do I was doing the width instead of the height. I forgot that the shorthand expression is the verticality, not the horizontal of the measurement. So this is standard 720. When we use 720, and we're doing that for a reason, because it scales up and down perfectly to like everything. TVs are 16 by 9. All newer TVs are either 16 by 9 or 16 by 10. Monitors are 16 by 9. the Nintendo Switch is 16 by 9. Actually, the Nintendo Switch is 720p. So, doing a 16 by 9 aspect ratio is perfect for most things. So that's what we're going to roll with. And if you notice, my background of my game world here is sticking out behind the screen, or behind the viewport, and that's actually good. What we're going to do is we're going to add let's add some assets, because now we have our viewport under control. Okay. We're actually going to, if you go to viewport 0, down here, you can have it follow an object, but we don't have any objects in our scene for it to follow yet. So we're not going to worry about that just yet, but we'll get back to that. Alright, before you can add an object, and we covered this a little bit last night, you have to create a sprite for that object. I mean, you don't have to, but it's the smart way to go about it. So we go into our sprites, and we're going to import a sprite. Now, off stream, I sat and downloaded some sprites just for this. That little live stream game folder here. And we have our little hero. This is a sprite sheet. I didn't think this all the way through, I don't think. I didn't. Alright, we're going to cancel this real quick, because delete the sprite from the game. I don't need paint. I need that folder, actually. Alright. Now I'm going to use Photoshop to do this, but you don't necessarily have to. Okay. I hate how Photoshop does that. Minimize this, and I lost OBS. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it's going to look a little wonky with the white background, but we're going to open. Alright, how big are these? These are 16? They are 16 pixels high, each one. Okay, that's good. Let me just validate. And my height over here is 16, good. 17, yep. And 17. Good. Okay, good. Which means they should also be 16 wide. They are. Alright, so what I'm going to do is get rid of these guides. They were just for me to measure. I'm going to turn snapping off because it tends to break things. I'm sure you just saw. Units, grids, and slices. We're going to set our grid line over 16 pixels. Good, it's already set up. We're going to view, show, grid. And there, now I have a perfectly aligned grid for my whole sprite sheet. This is, I just realized the sprite sheet is for 8-way movement, or well, 4-way movement. Just toward the camera, away from the camera, left and right. This is not useful at all. In my rushing, I wasn't paying attention. Alright, let's keep grabbing on the spreadsheet quick. This will be easy and quick. This is also 8-way movement, isn't it? Or 4-way movement. I don't know, it's too small to see. It's not. It's not. This worked fine for a platformer. Alright, so we're gonna stick that in here. Alright, now we'll import that into Gamemaker. We're gonna call it SPR player. Import that. I forgot to change something. Okay, I gotta need to open that up one more time. If I get it to rename. No, I can't do it as a stripped animation either. Alright. You know what, I'm just gonna leave it be. It's fine. Import it the way it is. I'm gonna... Let me just look something up real quick here, because I've not actually done an animation this way. Alright, this looks like the data I want. It doesn't actually say how to do this. Yeah, strip XX. That's. I'm trying to not use that. There's a neat little trick with GameMaker where if the file name is strip underscore and then a number, it will assume it to be a stripped animation and it will just cut it up for you. I guess we could try that. See what we get. I know that it's a 16 by 16 animation, right? So we'll just do this. Just rename this. Strip 16, right? It's supposed to be an underscore, or just I believe that works. Let's just import again. Same image. Yeah, I didn't like that. Okay. It's not underscore then, it's just... Oh, yeah, I did not like that. Alright, so it's not what I want. It's because stripped animations are usually all one line, right? So I would take this, open it in Photoshop. Welcome to the community, bud. So what we're going to do is make this a stripped animation. Create a new height 16 pixels, and width will be 16 times 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's it, 4. So it's actually just gonna be, I don't even need this, right? I could just crop this fucking thing. There we go. And that's a walking animation, done. Not a huge fan of the way this is laid out, so I'm going to cut this layer via cut and move it over to here. Then I'm going to move this back to here. Actually, I probably shouldn't have did it that way. I should have did it there. That way I know it's exactly 16 pixels offset. Yeah, but I've never used it before, and I'm trying not to jump into new things too much, because it's not really the purpose of this. Save as... And we're going to save this as not a PSD. Jesus. PNG. Strip. 16. Player strip. Strip 16. Or no, it's 4. It's how many frames it is, not how many pixels the frames are. Okay, so now if I minimize this, you go into, re-import it. This, there. Now each frame is automatically set up. You don't have to play with it. Hey Cole, what's going on, man? Welcome back to the club. We're through the news portion of things, and we're doing a game. We're doing a quickie. It's not going to be perfect. It's by no means going to be finished, but you know, it'll have some basic functionality to it. And yeah, Derry, the underscore strip thing is really cool. So any animation that you have, it has to be on one line, like this, right? And all you have to do is the name of whatever the animation is, right? So this is like player walk, underscore strip, and then the number of frames that it is. So this was 4. And it will automatically cut it up for you. And that's what I'm kind of trying to demonstrate here without using the animation editor within Gamemaker. Because this is just so much faster and easier. And it's good layout, right? Like, you should be laying out your sprite sheets like this. And then there's 9 slice, but this is for GUI components. This is for stretchable boxes and stuff. That's not something that's important for this. We're going to do our collision mask. Let's do frame 2. And we're going to do that. Okay, make sure we fit inside of our collision box here. I really should probably make it smaller, yeah? It should be like, and allow that small amount of overlap. Yeah, that's probably going to be better. I do want to use a rectangle, though, because the collision detection is a lot faster. All right, and then, yeah, that's SPR player. That's good. And that's all we're going to need. Because the actual animation, the first frame of it is just him standing. And it's pretty seamless. So I'm just going to use, when the player's not walking, I'm just going to display frame 1 on the animation. That way things don't get too complicated with sprite swapping. Not that sprite swapping's hard, but again, this is a learner project for chat, so I want to not overcomplicate it as much as possible. But that's just the sprite. So we're going to add an object that is create an object. We're going to call it obj player. We're going to link to the sprite that we just built. And we're going to add create and step. But we're not really ready to do anything with this yet. Okay. We're going to put the player in the game world. Oh, no, we're not. We need to go to our instance layer first. Or you can create a new instance layer if you want. I'm just going to use the one that's here. And dump the player in there. Now look how absolutely tiny this player is. Compared to the game world. This game world is gigantic. And it's going to render this big. Right? So I have a choice of either making the player bigger. Or making the viewport smaller. And pro tip. Make the viewport smaller. Stretching sprites is a bad idea. It will make them look dithered and anti-laced and terrible. So we're going to go back to our room. And we're going to go to the viewport. Okay. And we're going to dial this back. I don't know how small I should go, actually. I want to cut this in half, really. So we're going to go 640. And that makes the pixel height 360. If I could zoom properly. Still a little bit small, but I think I can deal with that. I could technically make him a little bit bigger, right? So if I just set a scaled on X to 2 and Y to 2, that's not terrible. I could deal with that. Okay, and now he's 32 by 32, which is good because that'll match most of the tile sets that I have. That's another thing when as a point of polish when you're making a game, make sure all of your assets are the same resolution. Okay, if your background tiles are 32 by 32 and your players or your active objects are 64 by 64 or 16 by 16 or anything other than 32 by 32, you're going to notice it. It's going to look weird. So you're going to want to try to match assets. Now, again, this does not match. This is a learning project. Just want to point it out there that if your assets are not all the same pixel resolution, it is very noticeable and it looks really bad. Okay. Let's import another sprite because we need some object backgrounds and platforms and stuff for our little player to stand on. So we're going to import a sprite. Import. Is this it? Shit. You know what I forgot? I forgot something really important. This is kind of a dumb with Gamemaker and it annoys me. Let's open our generic tiles here. Okay, what we're going to do is select all of it. Well, first of all, the blue background is exceedingly annoying, but okay. And we're going to hold control and we're going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And it's a goddamn PNG, so it's got a white background. Because it's indexed. Alright, image mode. Not in, oh my god. RGB. Okay, now I can delete the background from it. No, I can't. Because I have to duplicate it. Okay, now I can use the magic wand tool to select the white, delete it. Select the blue, delete it. Okay. Good enough. And I'm actually not worried about any of this. This can all go to hell. I'm going to image, trim. We're going to trim away from the, not the left or the top. We just want to trim the bottom and right of transparent pixels. And the reason is, with Gamemaker, when you're doing tile maps, the very first tile has to be blank, or it doesn't work. It breaks the tile editor. So we're going to save this again. We're actually going to save over the existing one because I don't care about it. Okay. And close this. No. All right, now we'll import it. Okay, now our first frame is empty. It's not a tile map, it's a tile set. And we're going to set the collision mask to, actually it doesn't really matter, I don't think, but precise? Yeah, precise. Okay. And we're going to close this. Now here we have tile sets. We're going to create a new tile set. And we're going to call this TS level 1, or I don't know, whatever's smart for your tile set. And with the sprite, we're going to add the sprite we just created. We need to let it know, okay, it is 16 by 16 pixels. Or is it? I don't actually know what it is. I didn't look. Yes, it is 16 by 16. Okay. Alright, and that's literally all we have to do with that. Okay, so now we go back to the level, right? And we're going to create a new tile set here, a new tile layer rather. We're going to call it TL platforms. You add a tile set, and that's the tile set we just created. Take it easy, Derry. Alright, so now with this open and we have the tile layer open here, we can actually hold Alt or Control rather and zoom. Yeah, it's Control and roll the mouse to be able to zoom. Okay. There. That's enough to test with. Okay, so that we can just get some basic movement down. Okay, we'll go back to instances, object player. All right. Start with if place meeting x, y, TL platforms. No square bracket there. All right. And this is going to detect whether the player is touching the actual tile layer platform. If there's a collision happening between the player's bounding box and the bounding box around the platforms. Which is not going to work correctly because I'm checking for all collisions, which includes if you walk face first into it. So let's do if point collision. Nope, it's collision point. We're going to say x and then y plus, because remember the y-axis is inverted. Positive y integers go down, I think. No. Yes? No. Y minus, and this is from the center point of the object, so middle center. And the object it's 8 pixels to here, but it's not. It's actually 32 pixels, 16 pixels to there. So we're going to say 17, just to get barely below the feet. I don't need to hand that an array. You could just use the... Okay. So this is the X position of the collision, the Y position that we're testing for the collision, the actual collision object. And then the other two are if I'm doing a precision check, and if I want to worry about colliding with self, which I'm not testing for that, so I can leave that false. And actually, because the platforms have special collision, this should be true. Okay. So we're going to say if it collides, then we're going to say alright, we'll just show a debug message for now. And it should not get anything. It yelled. Oh, I forgot to... There we go. Hello there, Danger Donut. It's an interesting name. What's not TL platforms, really? Oh, right, there's a thing with tile layers. I forgot about this, actually. You can't just call them by name. You actually have to. I don't want to set this in step. I'll set it here and create. TL platforms equals layer get. Nope. Is it tile layer? No. Tile map get tile. Get tile set. I don't. That's not right. I thought it started with layer. Oh, here we go. Yep. Get ID. And then we handed the name. TL platforms as we specified it up here in the editor. Now I can test for it. Look at that. Oh, well, that's funny. The animation's running very, very quickly too. Jesus. And I know it's really small, but again, you'll be able to resize the window and stuff, you know, when you have a more finished project. And we're just testing here. All right. And I do not have any output messages that say collisions, so they're not colliding. So we're going to move it down here. So they are colliding. And I should get lots of collision checks. No? Not so much? Okay. Huh. That's super weird. Oh. Not equal -1, I believe it is. No. It's var hit equals collision point. So collision point doesn't return a bool, and I treated it like it does, which is why it's not working correctly. So then I would say in here, I just assign the return value of collision point to a variable hit. And I can just say if var hit not equal no one. Neat. Why is my S key stuck? That's fun. Still not working correctly. That's super weird. That usually does it. Huh. Oh, because collision point doesn't always tell you the truth, too. We're going to set this to 32. Okay. Ah, there it is. It's plus 17, not minus 17. Right. Because X and Y 0 is here. And the Y is upside down. Okay. Alright, so that's that if they collide. So now if they don't collide, I get nothing, right? Yeah, no collision yelling at me in the debug thing. All right. Now we're just stubbing this for now. I'm going to delete this. But okay, this checks a singular point directly below the origin point of the image, exactly 1 pixel below his feet. Let's process the movement. So we're going to say check H input. All right, first things first. Let's do a tiny bit of setup. Gamepad set axis dead zone 0, 0.2. We're going to do a little bit of gamepad implementation here because it'll make testing easier for me. It's not strictly necessary, but I like to do it. All right, so we're going to say var h move equals keyboard check vk right minus keyboard check vk left var h axis equals gamepad axis value on gamepad 0, and this is GP axis left horizontal. All right, and then also var HP axis, or not axis, well, GP D-pad equals gamepad button check there's a special constant for this and I don't remember what it is. So we go to the Gamemaker gamepad reference. And there's this cool picture right here that we can reference. So this is what I'm actually, it's GP pad, that's right. Hello, Ethan. So we're going to say check GP pad L minus GP or gamepad button. Oh, it doesn't like that. Why? Oh, because it didn't specify the device. 0. Pad R. Okay. If H move not equal 0, return H move. If H axis not equal 0, return H axis. And if GP D-pad not equal 0, return GP D-pad. And then finally, and most importantly to remember, in the event that none of those are true, return 0. That way the player doesn't continue moving in a direction, because he will. Alright. So now I can say bar H input equals check H input. And then based on that, I can say if H input not equal 0, I'll say X plus equals H input times speed. Speed modifier. So that we're crystal clear about what we're talking about here. We're going to add a variable. We're going to call it speed modifier, and we're going to set it to 2 for now. All right. We should be able to test this. They're backwards for the D-pad. They're not backwards for the directional pad. And, oh, it's arrows. The arrows are correct. Just the D-pad's backwards. That's fine. I wasn't thinking. So this should be pad R. Yeah, and this should be pad L. Alright, that'll work correctly now. Now we're actually going to set this a little bit faster. Nice. All right. Now let's do a collision check before the movement actually happens. All right. First, do we know if we're moving left or right? We can find that out easily by just checking the value of each input. So if it's greater than 0, we are moving right, and if it's less than 0, we are moving left. So if H input greater than 0, moving right. If H input less than 0, moving left. Okay. Now here we're going to do our wall check equals no one. We're going to initialize this empty. Now we can say wall check equals collision point player. So it's going to be X plus the width of the player. The width of the player is tiny. I think it's only like 4 pixels to the edge of the bounding box. Y is fine. Come a little lower. It's 3, 4. And then we'll say TL platforms. True. False. And this needs an underscore to match the variable above it. And we're actually going to copy this whole line and paste it here, right? And we're just going to change x to x minus 4. So it checks the other way. Now here we'll say if h input not equal, or no, equals no 1, then we will move the player. Not h input, I'm sorry, wall check. This should be wall check. Because wall check is our collision detection for horizontal movement. So if this were initialized as no 1, if it's still no 1 after these checks, then we haven't run into anything, right? That works. I need to make it a little bit different though. But we're also going to, since we're doing these left and right checks too, right? We can actually say direction equals right. And direction is a built-in variable that is always there. Oh, well, so you can't say right and left. Point direction x, y, x plus 1. Oh, you could just say 90. So direction is 90, no, 0. I'm sorry if it's pointing right. And it's 180 if pointed left. And then we can say, we're going to actually change this from x plus 4 to x plus 5. Y plus 5, or x plus minus 5 here. I'm going to bump the player away from the wall just a little bit more. Yeah, that feels a little bit better. Okay. So we have a player moving back and forth, and that's good, but there's no gravity yet. Let's add gravity. Now, I'd like to point out that in GameMaker, you can edit the room, and you can go to room physics down here, and you can click this button to add gravity, right? I've never used this. I don't know what it does. And it's been my experience that enabling physics tends to want to enable all physics in every game engine I've ever used. We don't need all the physics. We need very basic collision detection and gravity. That's it. So what we can do is we can add a gravity constant to our game object, right? So we can just say, actually I'm going to do it as a variable here. Gravity. And we're going to just make it 1 for now. And we'll see how that works on things. Because what we're going to do is add a jump routine. Sort of. Okay, if... It's right here. Okay, this is the detect if we're hitting the ground. Okay. We need another variable. We're going to call it upward velocity. That's going to be 0 for now. Now. Okay, so if the floor detection is detecting nothing, then we're going to apply gravity to the object by, we're going to say y plus equals gravity. That should move it down slowly. It did. Right through the floor. Neat. Gravity divided by 4. See if we can at least see it this time. Yeah, very, very, very quickly you could. Which tells me this is not doing what it's supposed to do. Yeah, it never fired the collision like it should. Hmm. Yeah, if we don't collide with anything, so hit is null, basically, or no one, then we should add gravity to it, which moves it down. And if hit is positive, or does return something, then she gets skipped. Oh. Okay. Else. Y. Hmm. No, that's not going to work that way. I'm implementing this badly and I'm underthinking the problem. So we want to say linear velocity. Oh, Jesus. No. Just linear velocity. Equals gravity. Linear velocity equals 0. And then after this, we just run y equals plus equals linear velocity. That still didn't work. That's weird. Oh, it's not called linear velocity. It's called upward velocity. I mean, it still kind of should have worked, but... Why is it doing that? Keys are sticking. Just my S key for some reason. Yeah, no. Alright. Oops. I need that. Alright. This is not working. delete this. And delete all of this. Okay. Alright, so I know when I hit the gamepad button, A. The A button. I want to use the A button. I want to invoke a jump. So let's just see what you've got. Do you have an impulse force? No? Okay. Y equals we actually have to make this value negative because we're using it to set linear velocity. Oh, this is not a function, this is a variable. Okay. We're going to enable physics. We're going to click the object player. We're going to use this physics for the player. All right. Set linear velocity y. Now just say if jump pressed and jump press we'll just do here. Which face button is that? Face 1. And I have to set which controller I'm using, which is 0. That isn't the right way to do that either. You should loop through all the possible controllers. But typically, if you only have one controller in, it will typically either be controller 0 or controller 4, depending on if it's direct input or DirectX, or not direct, or 360. Okay, so we'll say if button greater than 0, return true, return false. which makes this Boolean check out, and we can just say jump. And then at the beginning of each frame, we can apply gravity to the linear velocity if it doesn't already do that. Let's see what this does, because I've never tried this before. Well, neat. I pushed nothing and he's already trying to jump. A lot. Okay, if jump pressed. Oh, because you have to call this like a function. I was checking to see if the function name had a value, which it does. The value is the function. Oh, doesn't like that. Bar button. What? Oh. Check. Gotta complete the function names. Okay. But I'm still not running into the ground because I'm not checking for the ground anymore. Okay, so if var ground equals collision point x y minus 17 TL platforms true false if ground not equal no one. Okay. Then we're going to I don't want to turn off physics, but y equals -1. It's gonna make him bouncy, but let's see. Okay, well that did nothing. Okay, you guys get to learn with me. Oh, not -1, 1. Because I'm going back up. Herder. That didn't work either. Can't move them left and right anymore either. Alright, we're gonna go back to not using physics, because that seems to not be what I wanted anyway. And since I have that physics turned off, this should actually not apply anything to it, right? Oh my god, like a brick. Okay. He gets mad when you use physics. Alright. Alright. Give me 5 minutes. I'm gonna go smoke and refill my coffee. We'll jump back into this problem.